जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिकराचार्य श्री श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की इसकॉन फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gaura. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text number 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tatom Jaya Udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastprayesu abhadresu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and love in service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Bhute Mahadbiya Imapuro Vibhur Nirmayasete Yadamasu Purushaha Bhungte Gunando Sodosa Sodosatmaka Salan Krisista Bhagavan Vachamsimi Bhute Mahadbe Yaimapuro Vibhur Nirmayasete Yadamasu Purushaha Bhungte Gunan Sodasatmaka Salan Krisista Bhagavan Vachamsimi Bhute Mahadbe Yaimapuro Vibhur Nirmayasete Yadamasu Purushaha Bhungte Gunan Sodasatmaka Salan Krisista Bhagavan Vachamsimi. Bhute Mahadbe Bhute Mahadbe Yaimapuro Vibhur Sete Yadamusa Purusha Sasodmaka Salankrisista Bhagavan Vachamsime. Nirmaya Sete. Punte Bun Soga Satmaka. Salankrisista Bhagavan. Mataji. Bhute Madhya Aimapu. Gunan so dasa satmaka. So alan krisista bhagavan vachamsine. Bhute madhya ima puru vibhur. Nema esete yad amushu pusha. Gunan so dasa satmaka. Te yadamusha purusha. Solang Krista Bhagavan Vachamsine. Bhute by the elements. Mahadbi of material creation. Ya he who. Ima all these. Pura bodies. Vibhu of the Lord. Nirmaya for being set up. Sete lie down. Yad Amusu, one who incarnated. Purusha, Lord Vishnu. Bhunkte, causes to be subjected. Gunan, the three modes of nature. So dasa in 16 divisions. So dasa Atmaka, being the generator of these 16. Sa, he, Alankrisista, may decorate. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Vachamsi, statements. May, mine. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe, and who in his Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material modes, which are his generator, be pleased to decorate my statements. Purport. As a fully dependent devotee, Sukadev Goswami, unlike a mundane man who is proud of his own capability, invokes the pleasure of the personality of Godhead so that his statements may be successful and be appreciated by the hearers. The devotee always thinks of himself as instrumental for anything successful carried out, and he declines to take credit for anything done by himself. The godless atheist wants to take all credit for activities, not knowing that even a blade of grass cannot move without the sanction of the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead. Sukadev Goswami therefore wants to move by the direction of the Supreme Lord, who inspired Brahma to speak the Vedic wisdom. The truths described in the Vedic literatures are not theories of mundane imagination, nor are they fictitious, as the less intelligent class of men sometimes think. The Vedic truths are all perfect descriptions of the factual truth without any mistake or illusion. And Sukadev Goswami wants to present the truths of creation not as a metaphysical theory of philosophical speculation, but as the actual facts and figures of the subject, since he will be dictated to by the Lord exactly in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, the Lord is himself the father of the Vedanta knowledge, and it is he only who knows the factual purport of the Vedanta philosophy. So there is no greater truth than the principles of religion mentioned in the Vedas. Such Vedic knowledge of religion is decimated by authorities like Sukadev Goswami because he is a humble devotional servitor of the Lord who has no desire to become a self-appointed interpreter without authority. That is the way of explaining the Vedic knowledge, technically known as the parampara system or descending process. The intelligent man can see without mistake that any material creation, whether one's own body or a fruit or flower, cannot beautifully grow up without the spiritual touch. The greatest intelligent man of the world or the greatest man of science can present everything very beautifully only in so far as the spirit life is there or in so much as the spiritual touch is there. Therefore, the source of all truths is the Supreme Spirit and not gross matter as wrongly conceived by the gross materialist. We get information from the Vedic literature that the Lord himself first entered the vacuum of the material universe, and thus all things gradually developed one after another. Similarly, the Lord is situated as localized Paramatma in every individual being. Hence, everything is done by him very beautifully. The 16 principal creative elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, and the 11 sense organs first developed from the Lord himself and were thereby shared by the living entities. Thus, the material elements were created for the enjoyment of the living entities. The beautiful arrangement behind all material manifestations is therefore made possible by the energy of the Lord, and the individual living entity can only pray to the Lord to understand it properly. Since the Lord is a supreme entity different from Sukadev Goswami, the prayer can be offered to him. The Lord helps the living entity to enjoy material creation, but he is aloof from such forced enjoyment. Sukadev prays for the mercy of the Lord, not only for being helped personally in presenting the truth, but also for helping others to whom he will like to speak. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Gopal Krishna Goswami Tinamine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastata Dasatarine. Om Agyanam Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakya Chakshur Unmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So another very powerful purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Before I start speaking today, I will seek the blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas sitting here to be able to speak something to glorify our eternal spiritual master, who we are indebted life after life. Because when we glorify a pure devotee of the Lord, who is presenting such wonderful purports, realizations for our well-being, we actually, by glorifying him, get ourselves onto the path, a resolute part of this devotional service that we have embarked on. So hopefully I can speak something that glorifies our great spiritual master and benefit all of us today attending class. So as we know, Sukadev Goswami is showing us the process of Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarsuri Vidu Sakalena Mata Yoga Nashta Parantapa. He's actually showing us by his own example. As Srila Prabhupada said, that this process is coming down through the parampara system. And it's actually called the descending process, which is the more sublime and easier way of understanding this knowledge. So Sukadev Goswami, being one of the great acharyas, is actually showing us by his own example. As we know, Sukadev Goswami is actually got the title of Goswami, which means one who controls his senses. So by his own example also he's showing us that how a Goswami should be speaking, not be speaking like Prabhupada said, from their own concocted mind, but from how it is being presented. And to do that, you can see the process. He's actually praying to the Lord. He's asking for prayers. He's asking for the mercy of the Lord. Because the Lord is the one who gives us mercy. And that's why Srila Prabhupada says there is a distinction between the speaker and God. There must be these two. There must be the Supreme Personality and there must be the Jiva Tattvas, who are us. So there must be that distinction. And that distinction means that we are meant to be offering our respects to the Lord. Why? So in turn we can get the mercy of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada states the language of the Vedas can be revealed only by the above mentioned disciplic succession and not otherwise. You see, it's very clearly in the purport that how this knowledge is disseminated, how this knowledge is received. That this oral reception used to take place at one time was presented to the saintly kings. Why? Why was it presented to the saintly kings? Because it was the duty of the saintly kings to then rule their subjects according to those instructions. It was not explained to the demons. So, by praying for the mercy of the Lord, Sukadev Goswami is seeking to repeat the very same message that was spoken by the Lord to Lord Brahma. As we know, initially, this message was spoken to Lord Brahma. And then from Lord Brahma, it was spoken to Narad Muni. From Narad Muni, it was spoken to Vyasdev. You see, so it has been coming in this format down to from our divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta to us. That's why, there is potency in the message. Because the message has not been changed. All Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas did was present the message as it is. That's why the Bhagavad Gita is as it is. So, Srila Prabhupada in his purport writes that Sukadev Goswami will be dictated to by the Lord in the same manner as Brahmaji was inspired, as we read in the purport. Why is Sukadev Goswami seeking this mercy? Why is Sukadev Goswami in the mood of the prayers of glorification of the Lord? Is because he is trying to have this message understood by the audience. And as we know, Sukadev means parrot. So basically what Sukadev makes is that as a fruit is tasted by a parrot, it becomes sweet. That's the analogy that is given to us. Similarly, we have never been a parrot, so we don't know if that's true, but literally we know that that's what we have been told. So similarly, by him presenting this message to us, he is trying to give us the sweetness, the nectar from the scriptures. Now, as we know that as we were reading the translation, in that translation it was stated, be pleased to decimate my statements. So we can see that also the translation given to us by Srila Prabhupada is that Sukadev Goswami is trying to get is trying to get the mercy of the Lord and seek the blessings so he can actually decimate this information. So you should see the mood of Sukadev Goswami. He's Goswami. And how he is actually trying to present this in a very humble state of mind. He's not showing us by example that a puffed up position. Oh, I'm already liberated from birth, as we know Sukadev Goswami's story. Immediately he took birth, he immediately left. But such an exalted personality is taking a very humble position. And we all know that the crown jewel that was given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saisnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sada Hari. That this is the necklace we should wear, that we should be chanting the holy name in a humble state of mind. The humbleness is the crown jewel of a Vaishnava, Srila Prabhupada says. It's our crown jewel to have this. To be in a meek position. And this example we can also see in the life of the Pandavas, who are very intimate associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We knew that Arjun was the greatest archer at that time. We knew Bhima was the strongest. We knew Yudhishthira was Dharmaraj, incarnation of Dharma. We knew that Sahadev and Nakul, they were very beautiful. One of them was very beautiful in bodily lustre. But they always attributed all their qualities to the benediction of Lord Shri Krishna. Unlike the materialistic way of life, where we are very puffed up and proud of our own achievements, a devotee takes a very different stand. The devotee stand is that whatever I have is because of the mercy of the Lord. The credit is given to the Lord. The credit is given to the eternal spiritual master. While in the materialistic way of life, we are taught the total opposite. That we need to be very proud of our achievements. So this is another very important distinction that we learn from reading Srimad Bhagavatam and especially following what we are seeing great personalities like Sukadeva Goswami teaching us. So as we know that in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, this knowledge was imparted to Brahmaji through Hirda Adi Kavaye, through the heart. So this knowledge is not actually acquired by our own strength. It is only acquired by the mercy of Guru Kripa by Bhakti Lata Bij. Through the mercy of Guru and through the mercy of Lord Krishna. So it is not something that we acquire by our own strength, but through the mercy. So that's a very important point, and that's what you can see also Sukadeva Goswami is teaching us. And then Srila Prabhupada mentions about Bhagavad Gita 15:15, which is a famous sloka, Sarvasya cha mirdi sanavistu, mata smriti jnanam aponam cha, vedas cha sarvair aham eva vedyo, vedanta krit vedavid evam eva cham. Which is, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. That's why it says, Vedas cha sarve aham eva vedayo. That I am to be known. I am the conclusion. And what's the conclusion of the Vedas? Is the Vedanta. What is the Vedanta? Is presented to us by Srila Vyasadeva. And what is that? Srimad Bhagavatam. Very simple. Very simple, made very straightforward for us that by all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta and I am the knower of the Vedas. So to this purport, Srila Prabhupada writes beautiful. If you read the purport that Srila Prabhupada has written, he says, in this was the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. Everything is clearly defined. Do we have any question? Do we have any doubts? It's very clearly defined by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. In addition, we know that the next verse, look at the way the Lord is speaking the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord speaks about Sarvasya cha mirdi sanavistu. The next verse, he speaks, why is he telling this to Arjun? By saying, Bhakto asmi saka cheti. The reason I'm speaking this confidential information to you is why? Because your Bhakto asmi saka cheti. Why? Because you are my devotee as well as my friend. So, this is the position of a devotee. He is a friend and he is what? He is a surrendered soul to the Lord. And the science of the relationship with the Supreme is being taught to us. And what is that science? What is that connection? Is devotional service. And why is it that we are always looking for that mercy? Because the merciful glance of the Lord upon us is what we always want to seek as a devotee. And we know that in New Dwarka, our ruchi is towards who? Shri Rukmani Dwarkadesh. Correct or wrong? I have seen devotees, when they are actually serving the Lord, they may have differences, they may have had a bad day, but immediately you're serving Shri Rukmani Dwarkadesh, you're on that altar, you're a changed person. I know this for myself. Correct or wrong? You may be very fired up, you may be very demoralized or whatever, but immediately you go in the presence of the Lord, there is something there. There is something when we are next to that, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We know there is no difference between the Supreme Personality of God and the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. Correct? So when we are next to God, we are actually next to the Supreme Personality. And we are so blessed that we are able to go next and serve the Lord in whatever capacity. Why? Because we are always looking for the divine protection of the Lord. That's why in the morning we are chanting Narsingha prayers. Why are we chanting Narsingha prayers? Because we want protection. We never think that we can do it without the Lord. So this is the mood of a devotee. He is always dependent on the mercy and protection of the Lord. Whilst in the material world, it is the total opposite. That's why we have great book distributors going out to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. Why? So we can actually make the common mass understand that we need to seek the mercy and protection of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada in one of his lecture speaks a very important point. I was listening to one lecture last week when I was driving between nowhere. I was doing 7-hour drives. And sometimes if you're in certain parts of the United States, you don't even know if you're in the United States, I sometimes call Swavas Prabhu, I call devotees just to keep myself, am I still on this planet? Where am I? And Srila Prabhupada's lectures, I listen a lot, and Srila Prabhupada was actually telling, look at modern civilization that we are very proud of. We want to be under the control of the superintendent of this material energy, Durga Devi. We have to seek protection. So what we are doing is we're seeking protection under who? Under the supreme. Because we're under the three modes of material nature. Who is in charge of the three modes of material nature? Durga Devi. So the material world civilization is so advanced that it is seeking the protection of who? Durga Devi. It's just like Prabhupada says, is the analogy that you're seeking the protection of someone who is in a jail and you're looking at the prison officers to protect you. While a devotee's consciousness is always seeking the protection of the master of the Supreme Lord. So do we want to be under the protection of the Supreme Lord, or do we want to be under the protection of the superintendent? You make the decision. I think we all know that we want to be under the Supreme Lord. So look at this. This is the great fortune we have. And this fortune is given to us by the mercy of Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Or none of us knew about this. So this is so important. Srila Prabhupada says, look at this misdirected civilization today. They are very proud, and yet they are seeking the protection of the superintendent of Maya. While a devotee is seeking the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Which position do you want to be in? So, that's why the next shloka comes in the Bhagavad Gita, Devi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mam Evaya Prabhadyante, Mayam Etam Tarantite. What? That this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So what is the key word here? Surrender. Those who have surrendered can cross it. It is actually divine energy. Why is it divine energy? Because it is actually an energy. It's inferior, but it is controlled by who? By the great magician. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. By the great magician, Shri Krishna. So we cannot overcome this divine energy on our own. It's just like you are swimming. You may be a very good swimmer, but the current is strong. You need the help of a life jacket. You need the help of someone trying to rescue you. So that's why, as devotees, unfortunately, we have seekers. So, the Lord can pull us out of the grave danger of material nature, from the ocean of material. So, in that purport of Devi Yesha Gunamai, Srila Prabhupada states that we are Nitya Baddhas, or we are eternally conditioned. From when? We do not know. From time immemorial is what we read. However, here is a Nitya Siddha speaking in Sukadev Goswami. And look at the mood and the approach of Srila Sukadev Goswami. But the mood of the Goswamis is what we should imbibe, because the mood of the Goswamis is what? Is loving surrender. Not just surrender. There is another ingredient to that surrender. It is love. It is not karma mystery, philosophy that we are actually mixed. No, it has to be unalloyed devotional service. So the mood we are learning from them as Nitya Siddhas is their loving surrender, which the Lord reciprocates by giving His mercy. And then further in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the conditioned soul is tightly held by the ropes of illusion, which is also called guna. That there is this guna, this rope, very strong rope. And that rope is referred to as illusion. Because we are all in illusion. Unless we come and surrender to the Lord. And that's why we know that out of all the verses, Surah Prabhu gave us a few verses that were very frequently recited by Srila Prabhupada. And I was amazed that the most recited verse out of all the verses is which one? Any educated guess? Which is the most recited verse by Srila Prabhupada? Sarva dharma parityagya mam ekam saranam varaja. Ham tvam sarva pabhyo mokshami ma sucha. That abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. This was the most quoted verse by Srila Prabhupada. Because it's all about surrender. Because we are in the illusion that I want to lord over material nature as compared to that I am the eternal servitor of the Lord. So because of that illusion, Srila Prabhupada actually has quoted us the most. Now, Srila Prabhupada also says that the only person who can remove you from this condition of birth and death is a bona fide spiritual master and the mercy of the Lord. Without these two, you can't do it. So this is your lifeline. Are we on the right lifeline? We are on the right lifeline, yes? We have taken shelter of Srila Prabhupada? Correct. Haribol. Correct. Say Haribol. Yes, we have taken shelter. Yes, we have taken shelter. If you don't take shelter, my friend, you're not going to swim out of this ocean on your own. Don't be in an illusion. You may be, what was the name of that famous swimmer who won 8 medals? Philip, you may be a strong swimmer like him, but man, you can't cross the ocean. Yes. You can't. You have to have the mercy of Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada then continues to say that what is the process? The process, he says, to gain this release, that the Lord has the merciful glance to give you this release, is the process of Krishna consciousness or devotional service. And when we practice this, then Lord Krishna orders who? The superintendent of Maya, Durga Devi, to release us from these clutches due to his causeless mercy. So Srila Prabhupada is very clearly written in his purports. Everything so nicely for our benefit. And that's why I know we seek that Srila Prabhupada spent countless nights without sleeping to translate these books. Do we not even have the time to read these books? Look at the sacrifice that our great spiritual master has done. He slept 2 hours, hardly, longer, just to translate. Even when his health was very bad, he was translating. And we don't have the time to read. I hear a lot in New Dwarka, especially in the neophyte category I am in. Oh, we are not getting association. We're not getting association. What association you need? Read Srila Prabhupada and you'll associate. You associate through Vapu and Vani. And we know that more important than Vapu is Vani. So when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, how many times we have all been in a situation, we have been disturbed mentally, and we pick up Srila Prabhupada's book and we are reading, and Srila Prabhupada may most likely speak something that actually relates to us. Correct or wrong? Is that not actually getting association? So where is the question of association? It is all mental, it's in the brain, it's in the mind. Get this out. The association of Srila Prabhupada lives with us eternally. That's why Srila Prabhupada said, there will be never a time that I will not be there for you. Correct or wrong? Why? Srila Prabhupada said this very important thing to us, instruction, that I will always live through my books. So we have that divine instruction. So that's why surrendering onto the lotus feet of the Lord is the only means to get free from the stringent clutches of material nature, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. And very important, just look at this. This is a very important thing I want to say. That just after Sarva Dharma, the next shloka that Srila Prabhupada says, because he knows there will be people who will be surrendering. And Srila Prabhupada also knows there is people who will not surrender. So the next verse is Na Mam Dushkritano Muda. That they are those people who are Dushkritano Muda. They will never accept me. You see? And I will end with this last shloka from again the Bhagavad Gita, which is 9:13, which is the most confidential knowledge, where the Lord says, Mahatmanas tu mam partha devim prakritim ashrita. Pajante ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. That, O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So this is where we should be. We should always actually be under the shelter of the divine energy. Hare Krishna. Any comments? Any further points? There was more to say, but 8:30 has already reached. I think Brajapati Prabhu has a question or a comment.
Thank you very much. I really liked your class. That was a really great class. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is this. So Prabhupada says in the purport that Sukadeva Goswami, he didn't want to become a self-appointed interpreter without authority. So is there such a thing as a appointed interpreter with authority? The reason I ask is, Prabhupada earlier in the purport says that Sukadeva Goswami wanted to present the facts and figures of the subject, not as a metaphysical theory of philosophical speculation. And so that's good. But the thing is, if you do that, you can get a lot of people that just can't relate to it at all. I mean, if you get into what to speak of the fifth, all sorts of places throughout the Bhagavatam, what to speak of the fifth canto, there's facts and figures that just don't match don't even come close to what educated people who are considered authorities in the fields today are thinking is the correct information. So, unless somebody kind of interprets that, explains it in some way to them, how could they possibly expect it to accept it?
So, I just want to make sure I understood the question. Are you pointing more, Brajapati Prabhu, to an interpretation given by a devotee according to their realization? Is that what you're asking, if that is bona fide? Or are you asking more in line with how is it interpreted by, obviously, a scientist or someone who's got a degree? They interpret it like, the fifth canto is very challenging because are you asking more in line from the outside point or from someone in the movement trying to explain?
What I'm asking is that, for instance, Sariputta wrote that book, Vedic Cosmography and Astronomy.
Yes.
So is that a good thing? He's interpreting. He's interpreting
correct
information that's in the Bhagavatam, but he's doing it in so that people who are from a Western empiric background can get a handle on it and have some possible way of understanding it. Is that something? Because as Prabhupada says here, don't become a self-appointed interpreter without authority. Is that something that's okay?
Correct. You see, I know once I had this discussion with Garuda Prabhu also. And I was asking Garuda Prabhu a similar questions, more like similar to what you're asking, Prabhu. I asked Garuda Prabhu that you're a professor. And so when you're also presenting it from your angle. And he said yes. And I asked him, so how is this going to be in the movement? And his answer to me was that we need to give our realizations, but in line with the acharyas. This was the answer, that it has to be in line. So whatever we say has to be substantiated somewhere and somewhere. So as long as it is substantiated. Now, Brajapati Prabhu, you read a lot, you're a book distributor, you're one of our great examples to follow. But one thing I have realized is when you read Srila Prabhupada's books very keenly, you find that Srila Prabhupada has actually given the answer in one way or the other. Either it's in lecture form, or either it's in the Shikshastakam. Some place or other, you actually do find some kind of logic that can actually relate to someone easily. That's what my personal is. I know Archita Prabhu has.
It's an important point, so even though we're over time, I'm just going to throw in that the answer was given in the purport, that Sukadeva Goswami is being inspired from within by the Lord, just like Lord Brahma was, as you mentioned in your class. So that's not interpretation. When the Lord gives a pure devotee an angle of vision to speak something. It's not an interpretation. They're presenting what the Lord is telling them to present. That's different from some scholar who sits down with 5 different versions of a book and then comes up with their own conclusion that's not backed up by disciplic succession. So when Jiva Goswami gives an opinion on something, it's not that he's just interpreting like a scholar. He's giving the realization that Krishna is giving him from within. Any of our acharyas, including our Srila Prabhupada, as he said that time when he says, Krishna directly dictated these books to me.
Correct.
It's not that by my scholarship I sat down with a whole bunch of books and came up with something. The dictation came from within. So when a Vaishnava scholar like Jiva Goswami or anybody presents something, they're presenting what Krishna is telling them to present. It's not just their own brain waves going off and collecting information. And no, they're presenting what Krishna is telling them to present.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thank you. Yes. It's a realization, coming from Srimad Bhagavatam class ki.